It's Tuesday, so this must be No Vacancy Live, right, Anthony?
I'd gladly take a hamburger today, but I'll pay you Tuesday.
I think you screwed that line up.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey everybody, welcome to No Vacancy Live. And Anthony, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today, I think is the line you're
That is the line.
right
and
there.
Glenn, I'm going to say something that
Yep.
you say to everybody else. Get
Yep.
closer to your microphone.
How's that? Is that close enough?
Yeah, I think that's better.
Yeah. All right. Well,
All
welcome
right.
to No Vacancy Live. Of course, that's Anthony Melchiori. I'm Glenn Hausman. Really excited to have everybody here today. Today's going to be a really exciting, good show because we have got a brand leader today from JW Marriott, one of the brands that I've been spending a lot of time with. And I think in the last year and a half, I seem to be going to event after event that seems to be taking place in that. But Anthony, before we get started with that, I wanted to remind everybody and to go check out our friends over at Avgo, the virtual front desk assistant. It's a front desk assistant, even though there's a little human being that you can see inside it. No, they didn't squeeze a human being into there. They're somewhere in another country, but they are there to help your guests check in, which I think is really cool, Anthony, because when I show up to a hotel late at night, I'm happy to be left alone, but just in case, I like to know that there's somebody there that can help me if I have any particular issues, right?
Especially for, like I said before, for safety. Very important. So, yeah, I love the product.
Yeah, for sure. All right, here we go. Anthony, talking to me about my sound. That's better. I had something set.
10 times better. 10 times better.
There we go. Now Suzanne backstage is happy. Thank you very much. And I hope you guys are happier now that I have full sound, or maybe you're not happy to be able to hear me completely. So we'll find out, won't we? Meanwhile, check our friends at Avgo, AAVGO. That's avgo.com. And of course, tell them No Vacancy sent you. All right, so today is going to be a good show. But before we get into that, it's a good little bridge. Our friends over at Noland, they gave me some great information on U.S. meetings and events industry by volume for last month. Can you, Anthony, their top 5 markets, can you guess one of the top 5 meeting markets for January 2023?
Las Vegas.
Nope.
Nashville.
Nope.
Charlotte.
Nope.
New York City. New York City.
Nope.
No. New Orleans.
Nope.
Hold on. Wait, let's back up.
Yep.
Let's back up. Orlando.
Yes, winner. That's number 2. Also, number 1, Phoenix, Orlando,
Okay.
DC, Atlanta, and Dallas were the
DC.
Yeah. So check this out. This is for January. Now, it's probably because things were a little bit weird. So in January 2023, meetings increased by 88.9% over January 2022. But the real growth, because last year we were in Omicron, so that doesn't really count. In 2019, January realized 11.1% growth compared to 2019 for overall meetings. How impressive is that?
That's insane.
Yeah, I know.
No one predicted that. No one predicted that.
I know, right? Yeah. Shoot, Bruce is having trouble with the Wi-Fi. Bruce, are you at headquarters office? That might be your problem. You might be having a firewall.
Either that or he's in the Pentagon.
Yeah. And for those of you who remember our show from the Pentagon, that went really well. I mean, by really well, I mean they're jamming our signal. That was fantastic how they were.
Yeah, they shot down our balloon and everything.
Well, they definitely popped our balloon of enjoyment for doing a show at the Pentagon.
So let me tell you,
this is Bruce's situation here. So, Bruce, maybe you could come on your phone because you might be having issues with the firewall and stuff like that through the internet. So
let me tell you my first JW Marriott story.
Yeah.
I was taking over Nickelodeon in Orlando, and I was going down to check it out to see if I would actually take it over. And I stayed at the JW Marriott in Orlando, right adjacent to the Ritz-Carlton.
Yep.
And that was the first time I've ever stayed with one, and I had a very, very, very good experience. And I was a fan from day one.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I bet you that was one of the first ones too, wasn't it?
I don't recall. We'll have to ask Bruce when he comes on. I remember the first, I'd like to say, yeah. Okay, Bruce. Yes. He's talking to us backstage. Please try via phone so we could get you on air. I'm pretty sure we've had this issue before with the firewall stuff. So I think he's going to be coming on any second. Yeah. But I will tell you last year, well, not last year, last month, I was at the JW Marriott with you at the Alice event. Great hotel for a venue. Last March, I was at this hotel right behind me for the California Lodging Investment Conference. It was the brand new JW Marriott in Anaheim. What a great resort in a great resort town. Of course, the lodging conference now every year, as at the JW Marriott Desert Springs Resort, another really great place that I think plays into the whole brand's ethos of mindfulness and stuff. So I was able to be calm while also in a meeting situation. And then, Anthony, if you like the JW Marriott Anaheim, they've got basically a twin up in Edmonton, Canada, where I did a speaking gig for the Alberta Hotel and Lodging Association. I see Bruce is coming along just fine.
I've never been to Edmonton
right now. What's that?
I've never been to Edmonton. No.
Coolest thing about Edmonton.
I've been to St. John's. I've been to Toronto. I've been to Victoria Island, but never been to Edmonton.
I will tell you the coolest thing about Edmonton is they have a Mackenzie Brothers statue over there. Do you know who the Mackenzie Brothers are?
Of course.
Yeah. All right. Because if you weren't, I'd have to call you a hoser.
Of course.
For sure.
No,
all right. Yeah. You were saying?
I have no idea who they are, but I was very, you believed me.
All right. Yes. I absolutely. You really don't know who the Mackenzie Brothers are from SCTV? John Candy and come on.
Well, I know John.
We're bringing you in right. Let's hold on. Let's just bring in Bruce and get to the bottom of this. Bruce, do you know who the Mackenzie Brothers are?
I don't.
Bob and Doug McKenzie. Well, he's too young to know who they who they are.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Oh, okay. So
listen, he's at least 36. He's at least 36.
All right, I was going to say, then you could just embarrass us by how amazing you've preserved yourself compared to what's happened over with these two people above you.
Hey, speak for yourself.
Sorry, I've already spoken for you. Too late. Nothing you can do about it. Bruce, welcome to the show. So delighted to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us, man.
Thank you so much. In fact, this is actually a follow-up to you and I meeting, I don't know if you recall, at the Hospitality Leadership and Design Conference back in November of 2021.
Yep, and that was in New York City, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. So
Bruce, FYI, Bruce, Glenn remembers everyone he meets. It's true. It's amazing.
Really?
Awesome. He remembers everyone. And I'm sure he remembers you. So let me ask a question. Are you in
Sometimes
the new
headquarters? A little aid from the name tags and stuff. Sorry.
Are you in the new headquarters?
I am. I'm coming to you live from our brand new headquarters in downtown Bethesda.
Oh, wow.
How awesome is that?
Very cool.
Yeah. Up on the 19th floor of 21 floors. But this is so amazing, spectacular. It kind of is. It must be one of the tallest towers here in Bethesda, but such a great new office space for us here. We love it.
So where are you with the flexibility work from home thing?
Yeah, actually, they're being pretty flexible with that. Obviously, in my role, I have to be out traveling and seeing a lot of our properties around the world. So, I'm not here all that often, but when I am in town, definitely trying to come in at least a few times a week, right? Just for, engaging with my team and as well as just some of my colleagues here too.
Yeah, when people ask me where my office is, I said the Delta Lounge at JFK.
Yeah, right? Yes.
That's funny. My answer is C12C on the plane. Because I'm not as cool as Anthony. I don't get upgraded like he does,
Oh, then you got to work your magic or some of your connections here.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you on that one, Bruce. One time, the good folks at Delta thanked me I was quoted in an article in AP or Reuters and something like that, and they wound up giving me diamond status for a year, and that was really, really helpful. Okay, but it was awesome. You know what was not awesome? Losing diamond status after a year. Yeah,
it's true. I've been there I'm more of a United and American guy here just because of being based in Washington, D.C. But yes, I've had some of that good status. And then when you lose it, it's a little tough, right?
I figure it's kind of the same feeling the Eagles had late Sunday evening. It's that same, I'm sorry. Sadly, it's Valentine's Day. My wife's an Eagles fan. I guess that's it for that relationship. But,
So Bruce, before we get into the brand and all the wonderful things happening, a lot of young people watch this show. As a matter of fact, somebody DM'd me yesterday and said, hey, I'm in college, and I love when you talk to the guests and you ask them about their career, how they made it, and also you ask them to explain what they're talking about, because a lot of times, we have all these abbreviations.
Sure.
So they like when we bring it back to the career of how you got to where you are. So
Okay.
what was your first job, and how'd you get here?
Okay, yeah. My first job was
Metro.
No, my first job though was at the front desk of a Residence Inn by Marriott.
No way.
Yes. So, I have a deep appreciation for being on property and starting out, in a front of the house role, but really just being on property and part of the mechanics of delivering the guest experience, right? So start off at the front desk of a Residence Inn, and then went on into sales for the brand, as well as operations roles, so at a few different locations. And to be honest with you, so I grew up in Oregon, so I started my career out that way. And I always knew that I had this kind of goal to perhaps see what it was like to be based out of the Marriott corporate headquarters and see what kind of roles I could have here. And so I strategically took an opportunity at a Residence Inn out by the BWI airport to be closer to this particular area to get my foot in the door. And honestly, that's how I met so many folks who were here at Marriott HQ. And it's just like anything. You network, and tell people like what your interests are. I had a huge passion for training back in the day, because I took this amazing sales class with the company and just fell in love with this idea of like educating and helping others. And so,
but let's back up for a second. When you were a kid, was there a coach or a parent or someone that taught you that to leverage up, to ask for what you want, to get in the right place, to ensure people see you?
I know this sounds maybe cliche and hokey, but it really was my parents. They gave me the wings to fly. They taught me, you got to go out there and work hard. They taught me, I wasn't sitting at home during summers, watching TV and stuff. I was out working. I had jobs every single summer of my high school, college years to make ends meet. So they taught me that like good work ethic, but also that drive, right, and pursue your dreams. So
but there's an interesting thing. There's an interesting point, because you said it, and very few people I've heard on this show say it at your level, is you strategically placed yourself in a position where people will notice you. You didn't jump up and go, look at me, but you just happen to be at the right water cooler. You happen to be at the right party. You happen to be knowing the right person. And when they leverage up, you leverage up. There couldn't be, and again, going back to a relationship with Glenn, I have this TV show. Everybody knows me. I was just in a coffee shop. People stopped me, took a picture. But in the industry, I didn't know guys like you. I didn't know presidents of industry. Everybody knew me from the show, but I didn't know anyone. I met Glenn and I leveraged up, and I've had things in my own business happen because I knew Glenn. And that is a really important thing to teach people. Is you can whittle away all day long in the corner and do great work and get an A+ and people pat you on the head and even get a bonus. But if you're not in the right place at the right time, where they say hard work and opportunity equals luck.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
What's the other expression? Like just half the job is being present or something like that. Right.
And you have to make you kind of have to make your magic happen, so to speak, right? So I do a lot of, discussions with folks who are interested in getting into brand or, my part of the work in the business. And a lot of times we'll have conversations about it. It's do that networking, but really, when the job comes up, if there's an opportunity that presents itself, your goal really should be that you are part of the conversation by the decision makers before you even throw your hat in the ring. Because you've done your homework at that point. You've built your connections. You've shared with them what your interests and passions are. And if they know that you're a good fit, they should be talking about your name already before you apply for the job.
Yeah, and it's funny when people say, during COVID that everything's going to happen through Zoom and you're going to get deals done through Zoom and networking through Zoom. How true or untrue is that, Bruce? Closing deals and like getting to know people through Zoom, or do you have to get on a plane and show up?
I think it's a little bit of both. I do think that, through, the last few years, there has been this embrace, right, of virtual, right? Yeah. Obviously, I would love to be able to be in person with you all today too, right? But we're able to do this through a virtual platform, right? So I do think that the world has evolved, right? In that making these connections, especially if you've got folks in a global company like ours, right? You may not have the luxury of being able to fly over here and get FaceTime if you have dreams of being part of the Marriott headquarters team and you live in Hong Kong. But, through these virtual platforms, we can make that happen now. But, it's still, at the end of the day, in hospitality, nothing substitutes that, in-person connection, right?
Yep.
But there's still other avenues we can take until that in-person connection can actually happen.
Yeah,
so
I found it's a good. Sorry, Anthony, go ahead.
Did you go to college for hospitality?
I didn't. I went to college for communications and also had a minor in business management.
I went to school for business management as well, and a lot of people say, well, I don't have a hotel degree. Matter of fact, you don't need a hotel degree. I tell people, don't pigeon yourself that way, because you may get in hotels and not like it. So having a more varied background is important.
The one piece of advice that my mom gave me that I actually give her credit for regularly is like, in college, it's important to learn how to speak well, communicate effectively, and understand how to connect with people via writing. And I came out of school with that idea, and then that was able to help me propel my career no matter what it was that I chose to do. And when I left college, I had no idea. But Bruce, you were working at a hotel. How did you even understand? Because what we're finding is there's a disconnect between the property level and the rest of the hospitality universe, and people don't even understand that this rest of the universe exists, right? How did you come to that great awakening and then work your way into the offices in the building that you're in right now, but really the building that preceded it because it's a brand new headquarters?
Right. As you know. Well, honestly, I think it's one of those things where I was on front desk and, you'd get different, things pushed out to you by headquarters, right? Different programs or initiatives as I know them today. Back then, I didn't really know what this meant, right? But someone was telling us, hey, you need to do this, or you need to change your breakfast in this way, right? Because there's a new standard. And so it enlightened me to the fact that there are teams of folks that are helping to direct these brands, and it just sparked my curiosity, to be honest with you. And at the time, if I'm being fully transparent, I didn't know that I was going to go to brand. I just knew that, I really loved hospitality. I loved this service culture, but there could be more to it than just, at the time, me working at the front desk, right? And so that just kind of sparked my curiosity. And honestly, it was through that, and then making that strategic connection, as Anthony mentioned, to get out this way on the East Coast to be closer to headquarters. Right. That's when I started that networking and found my way into training. Then I helped open hotels for us, which was also an amazing experience, because just learning what goes into operating a hotel as you open it, right? As well as the owner and the franchise component to that too.
And as a young manager, again, let's stop there for a second, because these are great lessons. As a young manager, if you really want to be in this business, there is no greater lesson than opening a hotel, because you understand it's a different brain. It's a completely different brain. A lot of people that open hotels, general managers, don't last over a year because that person is a different personality. I'm a turnaround guy. If you give me a great running JW Marriott, you'll fire me in a year, because I need something that's not working so I can build a team to fix it. That's my DNA. And really how I learned that is through openings. I love the action of an opening. I love the pressure of an opening. I love Con Edison's not here. The energy is not coming into the building. The elevator certification is not here. We don't have the CEO. We have to open the bar. We have a wedding. I love the craziness of it.
And Con Ed is the electric company in New York City.
Yeah, I know. I said that. Okay. I said the power.
Thank you, because I did know that.
So, Bruce, we got a question here from Bonnie. She's like, you still give advice to hotels? So why don't you explain a little bit before we get into the properties themselves? What does a VP brand leader do in your capacity with JW?
In terms of the advice piece of it?
No, just in terms of generally
your
speaking,
job?
because I'm sure you work back and forth with hotels. You're also engaged with new properties and properties that are going to be coming on board and all that kind of stuff. But could you just give a quick rundown for everyone so they understand?
Yeah. So basically, the role in that, as I do it, right, is that I look at myself as the strategic leader of the brand, right? So everything that happens to the brand, I, in some way, shape, or form, am involved in it, right? So when it comes to the programming or the concepts, the design, anything that's facing the guest experience of the brand, I relate and help to work with my counterparts on that. I also, though, oversee our marketing and PR for the brand too. So it's this really holistic approach, right? We're looking at how are we messaging and communicating with our customers or potential customers. And then once we say, yes, we've convinced them to come through our doors, then what does that guest experience look like, right? And so I'm working hand in hand with hotels on implementation of our standards and things like that. But I'm also working with development in terms of potential new deals that we might want to sign and working with owners and evaluating the properties that they're presenting as a potential deal. So there's a lot that I do with existing hotels, as well as really helping to plan what is the growth strategy for the brand as well.
Right. And Bonnie, that advice part might come in when it comes to particular products or services that specific hotel might need in regards to programming, or some of the issues that we're seeing some changes in society, of course, and how that might affect the overall brand, particularly in your quest to be recognized as a brand that's really focused on mindfulness and holistic well-being and all of those kinds of things, right?
1000%. Plus, I think it's safe for me to say I get advice from the hotels. You know, it's a two-way street, right?
Yeah,
because they're living it every day, right? So, you know, one thing that I do have that, and this isn't a must-have, but as I said earlier, having that property experience to me has been very beneficial because I understand the decisions that I'm making at this level. When I introduce something that we push out to our properties, I remember what that was like, right? So I want to be thoughtful about how do we implement this, what's realistic. But once we do that, or prior to even doing that, I'm looking for advice from the properties, right? So before we launch anything, I'm seeking their guidance and counsel to make sure that it really is going to work and that it would be a win with our guests.
Yeah, and Bruce, I can't agree with you more. I don't know how people in your position that have never worked at the front desk, never dealt with those kind of issues, never worked in housekeeping. I just saw something online on LinkedIn. You may have seen it, Glenn. Right. It was a leader. I think it was I don't remember the leader of a brand. And he said, everything I learned in housekeeping. Right. And you cannot run a hotel from where you sit unless you understand the pain, because it's painful. I mean, running a hotel 24/7 as a general manager is a commitment. And when you're implementing things from your perspective, it's the most important thing you can do for the brand. But really, the most important thing that I can do for the brand is get that VIP checked in when they want to get checked in, or get those sheets changed and get that housekeeper, making sure she's having a tough day, making sure we celebrate her somehow or him somehow. But, you know, so that's really, I learned that over a period of time, because when I was younger, I would just revolt against anything that came down because it's like, I'm busy. I'm just busy.
Yeah. Well, it's honestly my favorite part of the job when I get to be in one of our hotels and I get to be with the teams and just listen to them, you know, and it's interesting, right? Like it's just part of my approach, right? But I just want to be approachable. I want to be, you know, someone that they can say like, okay, yeah, I might be the brand leader, but I don't care what your role is on the property. I want to hear what your feedback is, right? I learn every day when I'm with those teams, and you feel their like pride, right? To be serving our guests and to really, even in our case, carry on the legacy of the founder of our company, because that's our namesake for JW Marriott, right? Is J. Willard Marriott. And there's such pride with that with our teams. And so to connect with them and be on property with them is actually my most favorite part of the job that I do.
And I think a good leader, a good manager, a good coach understands the word pride, because we all have check that box. We all have to do our work. We all have to make sure the brand's happy, the owner's happy, the guest is happy, the employees are happy. But at the end of the day, if you can do it with pride and do it in the spirit of hospitality, the people will follow you. When you're doing it just to use people as a tool, or just to create a goal, or just to make sure the stock price goes up, or just to make sure we meet our budget, people read through that really, really quick. Matter of fact, when you do something that's out of the budget, and you do something that people know you may get, like, the owner may talk to you about that because that wasn't in the budget, and you're successful at the end of the month and it worked, people start believing in you. It's when you follow the rules to the letter of the law, the pride in the building gets zapped out for not only, of course, standards are important, but the person that's got the football has got to make a decision.
That's right. And honestly, too, I look at pride as contagious. If you're proud, people will see that, they will feel it, and they'll want to be part of it, right? So you have to be proud of what you're doing, and because it will come across as inauthentic if you're not.
Yeah, I remember somebody said to me, literally came up to me, he goes, I don't know if you and I would be friends outside of work, but I want to follow you wherever you go. I said, why? He goes, because I don't know where you're going, but it seems like fun.
And I'll tell you, it's not fun. I've become friends with
me and him, and me and this younger gentleman wouldn't have been friends outside because we have two different personalities.
Right.
But he bought into the pride that I try to live every day. I say to Glenn a lot. I say, I've had a lot of challenging days in this industry. I've never had a bad day in the hotel business.
Well, and I also think that comes through to our customers or to our guests, right? I always told folks when I was training us in operations or sales, you have to be proud about what you're selling, or you have to be proud about who you're serving, because if you're not, they will see right through you. And we are all attracted to, folks that are proud, because we want to give business to any kind of product, or in our case, hotels, where they feel that sense of pride throughout the entire team during their stay with us.
I say it every day. If you work for the paycheck never comes.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. So Bruce, I'm curious, what do you have one piece of actionable insight you gleaned from being at the properties and speaking to folks at the property level?
I mean, just that, you don't have all the answers here in the glass box of the headquarters, right? That you actually have to be out there listening to the customer, to the user. That's the advice. I can have all the best ideas in the world every single day, but they are living this, each day with our guests, right? They're getting the feedback. I can look at surveys, I can look at comments, but I'm not in there day in and day out, right? And so to me, I don't have all the best ideas necessarily. I need to make sure that I'm connected with them and getting that feedback. So
if you have the best ideas, they put the wrong person in the job, because that person doesn't exist. Or if he does exist, he probably blew himself up a long time ago because he thought he had all the great ideas, or she thought she had all the great ideas.
Right.
It's the person. Curiosity is one of my favorite words. But let me ask you the question, getting back to the brand. What is the elevator pitch for the brand? There are so many brands, especially high-level brands like JW Marriott.
Yeah.
What if I'm about to go in the ground and I want a brand? Why your brand outside somebody else's?
Absolutely. So, JW is a brand that is a luxury brand that has a holistic well-being point of view. And we're inspired by our namesake, J. Willard Marriott's approach to life. And so that is our authentic take on this idea of holistic well-being. We have our a lot of his daily rituals, right, that he did, that we know are just as important to him back in those days as to our modern day guests. And so really it's a brand that is a very welcoming approach to luxury. And we are, now over 115 properties around the world.
Woo. Oh, in like 35 countries too, which is
right.
Was the one in Orlando one of your first ones?
In terms of Grand Lakes?
Yeah, the one in Orlando. I think it's in Grand Lakes. Yeah, right next to Ritz-Carlton.
Yes, that's Orlando Grand Lakes. they've been around a little over, I mean, definitely over 10 years. Our very first property was the one here in downtown Washington, D.C.
Oh,
I stayed there. I stayed there at the Grand Lakes one when I was taking over Nickelodeon, probably
Oh, sure.
18 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
I recommend everyone go check out that Grand Lakes property. One of the most magnificent lobbies, and they don't build those kinds of lobbies at all anymore.
And they just did a huge renovation. So the lobby has been completely transformed.
Wow.
Amazing bar experience there. It's a great standout location for us.
So let's talk about that for a second. You have this great property. It's doing well. And then the owner comes to you, or you come to the owner and say, we need a property improvement plan. We need a renovation.
Yeah.
When that happens, there's a lot of, and we've all been, well, at least you and I don't know about Glenn, but been through those conversations, those conversations of it's time to kind of improve.
Yeah.
Was that one where you agreed? Was it a PIP, or was the owner say, hey, we're renovating? How's that work?
So it's a combination of a few things. So, we are on a cycle of renovations, right? Every 6 to 7 years. Of course, with things that happened in the pandemic, there was a little bit of give there, right? Because we wanted to be sensitive to the financial situation for many of our owners. But let's just call it in a standard situation, right? There is the conversation that you're coming up on being due for renovations. So we start to have those conversations with owners, with our design folks, right? And there's a few things. Sometimes it's a soft goods renovation, and sometimes it is a full blown out renovation because the property has been, aged for a while, right? So it depends upon where they are in their life cycle as well. But it's from a brand perspective, it's a way for me to weigh in and ensure that I'm helping them to catch up on any kind of brand concepts that perhaps are physical, tangible concepts that they didn't have, that we can incorporate into the renovation itself.
I imagine when somebody's looking at JW, they're also looking at maybe an autograph where they're like, hey, we're going to build it, we're going to do this, and then we want kind of a soft branding of the hotel. Do you run into that specifically with this type of brand because it is a luxury brand, or is it two different mindsets?
And let me add another thing. It seems like Ritz-Carlton seems to be pairing up more naturally with JW for dual brand properties. So how's that all come together for you?
It's a good question. So we do have a couple of co-brand located places,
particularly in LA, and I think Edmonton is like that as well, but I'm not sure. That might just be the JW.
Just JW there, but Orlando is another example of that. Yes.
Right.
So, it's a couple of ways. I think, so JW plays in this really great place in luxury where we're above those premium brands like an Autograph, to Anthony's point, but then we are positioned, in terms of price point and offering below that of a Ritz-Carlton or a St. Regis brand. So I always like to say that we have a lot of folks who graduate up into JW because we might be a first taste of luxury for a guest, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but oftentimes even for owners, that might be the case. I might be an owner that has been more of a developer of some of our premium brands, but I'm really enticed by this idea of luxury. And JW is a great solution for an owner in that space as well. I would say I don't run into Autograph versus JW. Now, I used to be in a previous life on the luxury collection brand for us. Right. And in those cases, I definitely had that soft brand conversation between what makes an Autograph versus a luxury collection. In this world, I'm definitely talking more about the differences between Marriott, Westin, up to JW, and then, in comparison to that of a Ritz-Carlton or a St. Regis.
What are some of the fundamentals that people think about when they want to do a deal with you as opposed to a traditional Marriott or a Westin or something like that? What are some of the levers that they need to pull to make sure they're up to that status? And what are their expectations in return?
Sure. Well, we're always looking, right, to make sure that JW is positioned within that luxury, tier and meeting the expectations of the luxury guest, right? And so it does come down to, footprint of the room, even, things such as the number of fixture types in the bathrooms, right? The number of outlets on property, et cetera. So there are some of those more tangible examples that make us different than some of those premium sister brands that we have. And then, to be honest, too, there is something about JW that's always just really embraced and loved by the owners, right? Because it's a great return on their investment. And they know that they'll be able to continue to even push on rate in markets, that are able to garner rates higher than some of that premium supply.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Anthony?
I was at JW in Washington, and I don't know, it was right before the pandemic, and I remember ordering room service, and you did it in such a sustainable way, and I loved it. I absolutely loved the way you packaged it and the way it was the first time I've received it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't, but I'm going to assume it's not putting it into someone else's pre-used bags. So how does this work? It's pretty interesting.
Well, we're using it more. Yes, it's delivered in sustainable packaging to the property, and it was something that we actually piloted at that particular hotel, right, to see how it would test out. Because again, this goes back to our earlier conversation. We may have some great ideas, but we have to test these out, right, and actually get feedback from the property associates or the guests themselves. And so I'm glad that you had a good experience, Anthony. What stood out for you, though?
I don't like the whole tray coming in with the waiter coming in with the whole awkward signing. I don't like it. I'm usually coming out because I time everything. If I'm speaking, I time everything between my shower and getting dressed. So I'm usually in a robe or my pajamas or whatever. And I just want to grab it and go. So usually I'm just saying, no, that's fine. I grab the cart. So I love the fact that I opened it up. I grabbed the bag, and everything was there. The utensil, everything was there. Nothing was missing. It was presented really well. It was quick. And I remember, and I'll never forget this, because once it was presented, I was like, oh, this isn't going to be as hot or as good as a regular room service. It was a chicken sandwich. It was the best chicken sandwich I've ever had, period. Really? And so I remember it. So
better than the Popeyes fried chicken sandwich?
I've never had Popeyes. It was a great experience. It was well done. It was well presented, and it was a great experience.
All right, I'm going to take that feedback to Matt Felix, who's the general manager of that property. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it really was. And are you rolling it out more, or is that something just from time to time?
That was something that we tested for the purposes of during the pandemic, just because there were such sensitivities about coming into someone else's space, right? So that was something that, and it's one of those things where we have to balance. And that's something that I think we do really well with JW, right? Is that we need to listen to the latest needs or expectations of our guests in this case, right? About some of the cleanliness expectations or space, considerations, but also still ensuring that we're doing it in the theme and mode of luxury.
Yeah. Right.
Because that wouldn't necessarily work at some of our other luxury brands, right? But it can still work with JW.
But I think it's fair to ask me, would you like it tabled or would you like it packaged?
Absolutely.
And leave it to me to make that decision. And there are some days where I want the table because I know I'm going to be there for a while, and I want to, and I want that feeling. I have plenty of time, and I want that feeling with the table. But other times, I just give me a bag and let me get to business. So anyway, it was well done.
So I got a question in that same kind of vein, Bruce. How are you balancing that need for the luxury experience when you're also talking about wellness, which might involve sustainability and the types of products that are being utilized in the property? What are some of the things that you're thinking about?
Yeah, there's a few different approaches here, right? So we've moved into rolling out residential bath amenities. So that is one area where we're trying to, in terms of the amenities that we have in our guest bathrooms, that we're using that from a sustainability standpoint. Mm-hmm. But, there's a lot, I talk about holistic well-being, but I also talk about it as environmental well-being. Yeah. Because we really do need to think about, what is the impact that we're making on our planet. Some of those are harder things to do than others, right? But one area that we've rolled out here over the last couple of years is our JW Garden concept. So every JW Marriott around the globe will have a sustainable garden that they will use not only for food and beverage offerings, but also can incorporate it into spa. And it can also be something that you extend into other parts of the guest experience, meetings and events, family programming, etc. But this is a way for us to do something that allows us to have a sustainable point of view on property with something that we haven't had in the past, and we're really excited about it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And let me just give a little context, Anthony, before you continue. This is a partnership that you're dealing with Studio Lily Kwong, and of course, namesake Lily Kwong, inspired by Alice Marriott, Jay Willard's bride, love of gardening and stuff. And there's also herbs and all of that stuff that can be put into the food. So please,
Glenn,
Anthony, continue.
You've done your homework, and you want to go on the road with me because
I do want to go on the road with you because I always think about how horrible it must be for a brand leader of a luxury brand to have to stay in all those hotels in all those different countries all the time. So I'm in with you, man.
And that's another thing to learn about Glenn. Glenn knows the history of the hotel business way better than you and I will ever know. Trust me.
Oddly enough, Anthony was just on a history podcast where he talked about the history of 3 hotels in New York City. So,
you look at my social media. That's great.
as well. And Bruce, please take over.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Go ahead. No, you go first, Bruce. You're the guest.
Well, I was just going to say yes. I mean, so as part of that, we created these amazing gardens with Studio Lily Kwong. She, is a fantastic landscape designer, as you probably know. And, she just brought in such great, interesting thinking, right? And so even to add a little bit more to your sustainability question, right? Some of the gardens that she created for us, right? Looking at water conservation or the materiality that we used to construct the gardens, right? So just it was more than just how do you plant a garden. It was really a very thorough process of a true sustainable story, and so we created gardens with her at our Desert Springs property out in California, Orlando Bonnet Creek, and even at New York City Essex House, which was a great challenge because of course in an urban environment, how do you have a great garden? And so she created this really beautiful showcase piece that you can see in the lobby today that is inspired by the topography of Central Park. So it really has been a fantastic partnership, and we'll be launching our next garden with her at our JW Marriott in Singapore South Beach.
Wow. That's cool. Anthony?
It's so important to do. And I was doing a show called 5 Star Secrets, and we went to this mansion in Connecticut, and the chef went out with me, and we went into the garden. He had a beekeeper. We got the honey. We got all the seasonal herbs. And he got most of his meat from not too far away. And there was something when I was eating that it just felt better. It just felt when I was a kid, I was in Warwick, New York, and I would go upstate to Warwick. And I just felt like I was in the country, even just at the table. It just felt like I was part of the process.
Absolutely. There's something really special about that, right? Having the chefs at our properties, do this really beautiful experience. Like I said, it can be family programming. It could be with your meetings and events group. It could be just a couple. And, you go to the garden, you pick out your ingredients, you come back, you do all, an amazing, dinner experience, right? There's so many different ways to activate this, right? And a little bit what you also asked too in terms of the mindfulness approach. I think it's safe to say, as we're coming through this pandemic, everyone's personal priorities have shifted. If I asked you both, have your priorities shifted before pandemic to after? I would guess that you'd say yes. And our guests are telling us the same thing. And so for us, it's also beyond sustainability, just, tapping into freeing up more time for our guests, paying attention to the details so that they can really focus on themselves and do what's most important to them. Because I know personally when I'm traveling, my priorities are shifting, right? And so I want some of that extra me time when I'm on the road these days, because I've appreciated what we've all been through the last couple of years. And so that's another approach to our philosophy.
I think, what I also think, people are finally, doctors can tell you, your parents can tell you, your kids can tell you, everybody can tell you to own your health and to own what's going on with you. But I think what the pandemic has done is we've reflected and say, you know what? I don't need anybody to tell me. I can do this. I can still do my job. I can still be there for everyone. But I have to come first. I always say, if you don't come first, everybody comes second. Once you put yourself first, everybody else then comes first. Now that sounds weird. It's like, because once you're good, then going through your day, everybody's your priority. But if you're not good, you bring that to other people.
That's right. And if honestly you don't take the time for yourself and make you your best self, then you can't be your best self for others, right? They can't lean on you, right? And that's a little bit of what Jay Willard did in his day too. You know, he loved to be outdoors. He loved to sing. He loved to journal. It was all these daily rituals that, you know, as he's growing this what now has become a hospitality empire, right? But he needed those times to disconnect, just as we do today, right?
It's amazing that someone realized that back then, you know, 50, 60, 70 years ago. Bruce, this hotel behind me, the Anaheim property, was designed by the incredible Kay Lang. She's absolutely fantastic. It's got me thinking, as you're focused on wellness and all of that, and you're talking about the chefs and the gardens and all of that, how does biophilic design play into that? And for those that don't know, that's the whole notion of bringing the outdoors inside as well to create a more holistic environment inside. So how are you thinking about that in the design and development of properties?
We definitely think about that, and it's a huge opportunity, and it's a great way to design these days, right? So even just to have a botanical strategy like we do for the brand, right? We're getting away from the idea of these big bouquets of cut flowers, because, you know, that's not sustainable. It's not really in tune with what our messaging is. So, you know, things from botanical strategy to, again, how do we bring the outdoors in some of our new properties that we're debuting across the world, right? So yes, that is absolutely of importance to us as we're considering design.
And even there's some simple elements, such as at the Anaheim property, the bar area is both inside and outside at the pool deck, which is a smart idea because it saves on that labor cost while also giving people the opportunity to be both indoors and outdoors, or sitting indoors with the outdoors, you know, coming in with a nice breeze and that sort of a thing.
Well, and you're in California, so you want to be outside most of the time, right? So there's something to be said to kind of connect the two spaces, like you said there. And it's great because, yes, the outdoor side is adjacent to the pool. The indoor side is adjacent to this amazing lobby, and it really does work beautifully there.
Yeah, that's great. So where are you coming to next with JW Marriott Properties? What's on the development pipeline?
I have a couple that I'm really, really excited about. The first it's supposed to open any day now, is our JW Marriott in Jeju, which is an island in South Korea. And it is this amazing island alongside this coastline. It's a farming and fishing area, but this property is actually built on natural hot springs. So talking about the importance of the nature aspect, right, of design, you will be fully immersed in a, you know, beautiful setting alongside these cliffs overlooking the sea, natural hot springs. It's going to connect the dots very, very nicely between this idea of luxury, holistic well-being, mindfulness. It's going to be a showcase property. So really excited about that hotel to debut here in the weeks ahead. And then also one of our other exciting properties coming up is Madrid, our first property in Spain.
Awesome.
We'll be opening that in mid-March, along with another location in India. It'll be our 10th in Vagator, Goa.
Wow.
And then probably the most exciting is our first ever Safari Lodge tinted camp concept. So we are opening the JW Marriott Masai Mara, which is in Kenya. And it will be 20 tented camps. And on this natural reserve, you'll be able to dine and have breakfast while watching the hippopotamuses bathing.
Wow.
And it's going to be special. It's going to have a 2-acre.
Just for the record, he's not referring to me taking a bath for you to watch.
No.
Sorry, go on, Bruce.
No. It's going to have a 2-acre JW garden, as we mentioned before.
Wow, that's huge.
Huge. So again, and you know, the sustainability conversation we've been having, when you go into the Safari Lodge space, I mean, everything you have to do has a sustainable point of view. So we'll have solar, panels there to help with all of the electricity, of course, water conservation practices, all of the bio-waste that we'll have to keep in mind. So everything is thought through from a sustainable lens. But the other thing that's really, I think, special about this property is we'll be able to incorporate some of our signature concepts beyond the garden, like a spa by JW. And as of interest, we just learned last week that we're going to have the first ever female safari guide at this property, which I think is also something really fantastic to promote.
I want to get back to your career. You just said Madrid, you said Africa, you said South Korea, and you threw something else in there. And I would imagine you'll be going to these openings.
Well, yeah, someone's got to cut the ribbon.
Yeah, at some point. And I have to say, we're going to Dallas and Clearwater here in the United States too, because I can't leave those out.
No, of course.
But yes, I'll be going to those properties to help support.
So back when you were a kid, we hear if you want to see the world, join the military. If you want to see the world, go in the hotel business. And could you ever imagine when you were a front desk clerk that you just said, we're opening Hotel Madrid, South Korea, all these places that you probably didn't even know existed before. And now you're in charge of opening hotels with your team in these places. If this isn't the greatest career in the world, I don't know what is. Someone's got to tell me what it is.
I cannot agree with you more, right? Honestly, if I think back, like as being a little boy in Oregon, I pinch myself now, right? And I think about like the gift of travel and what it has meant. And, my parents, going back full circle to, who inspired me to go out there and fly, they gave me the gift of travel, right? They took me on trips, right? They sparked my curiosity, and I saw just the power of travel, what it does for human connection, what it does for education. So yeah, I feel like the luckiest guy in the world to do what I do, because I love what I do. And going back again to what we said earlier, I'm proud of what we do.
Yeah, and the secret ingredient is, I always say, put your pants on, walk out the door, is hard work. Like there's no, people always say, what's the secret? There is zero secrets. It's work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of detail. At your level, getting back to every email, every text message, every phone call is as big a job as any other job you have, because you're the leader. And it doesn't matter if you're getting back to them at night. It doesn't matter if you're getting back to them on the weekend. You need to let people know that you're available. And that is the greatest gift I think a leader can give to his team is, I'm transparent and I'm available.
That's right. That's right.
I was going to say, Bruce, being available, though, you're also out there and doing stuff. Are you able to do stuff for yourself when you're on some of these trips? Because you're going to the most amazing, incredible places. It would suck to just see hotels and taxis and airports.
Yeah, no, I do take advantage and try to extend, and enjoy a little bit of personal time. Like last fall, I was able to go to Japan and enjoy a couple of days, before I went to our property in Nara. And even just, with all the travel I've done, I've been able to, acquire quite a few airline miles. And so I just came back from a trip to Israel where I was able to actually pay it forward to my parents and take them. And give them
that was the best trip I ever took in my life.
It was
Israel.
So meaningful. Yeah. But that's the power of travel. And so, I definitely tried to tag on some personal time if possible. Yeah.
Good for you. Anthony, you got anything else for our friend?
No, I'm good. This has been great. Thank you so much, Bruce.
Bruce, I got one more question for you before we get out of here today. Okay. How do you keep yourself inspired every day? What is it something that you do for yourself to keep yourself positive, keep your energy levels up, and that sort of a thing?
That's a good question. I mean, I think it's probably staying focused on just being who I am, and
you mean you're authentic. You, who you really are.
Being my authentic you. I don't believe in this idea of fake it till you make it or things like that, right? Like, I just know that, like, if be myself, don't be afraid to ask questions, but also don't be afraid to make the time in your life for the people who matter most to you. Because honestly, at the end of the day, at some point, this unfortunately will end. but those people that are most important to you should be there for the rest of your life, right? And so make time for them because they keep you grounded, they keep you centered, and they allow you to truly focus on your authentic self, I think.
Yeah. Beautiful. And instead of fake it till you make it, my expression is act as if. That gives you permission to be there without a negative connotation, in my opinion. We'll see. Bruce, thank you so much for being here. This was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much.
And congratulations, Bruce, and congratulations on your career. I don't know how many people tell you that, but I mean, you're an inspiration, really.
Thank you. That means a lot. And I have thoroughly enjoyed the time with both of you today. And hopefully we can
more with me.
Well, of course. Yeah, of course. I know. We all know that. All right. Well, I want to thank Anthony for giving my therapist a reason to be successful in the next year. I'm going to have to work out these issues. Bruce, you rock. We'll see you hopefully on the road soon. Appreciate you.
Right.
Invite us to an opening.
Yeah, invite us to an opening. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Awesome. All right. Not much to say after that. That was a killer.
I will say, I'll wrap it up. The one thing that you cannot, the enthusiasm, you know, when you say like, how do you keep going? How do you keep going?
Yep.
It's automatic. It's clicked in, as I always say. It's clicked in. It's automatic. And when he's tired, it's just for a moment and he's clicked in. He's just so excited and so enthusiastic. You can't fake it. You can't train it. You can't have Marriott tell you, you know, they can just give you a beautiful canvas to paint on, but you have to paint it, man. You can just hear his enthusiasm.
Yeah, you certainly could. And if you guys want to be enthusiastic, well, the one best way to get your enthusiasm is get us on audio downloads. Find us No Vacancy Live, No Vacancy News. Just type in any of that onto Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you get your shows. We are there. And for some reason, if we're not, let us know. He's at Anthony Hotels, and I, of course, am at Traveling Glenn. So good show today. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, well, you know, when you have a good guest, it's easy. Just get out of his way and let him talk.
Yeah, it's much better than listening to us go on and on. All right, everybody, thanks so much for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. And until then, remember, you've got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
Bye.